This is Whisper from History, where forgotten voices rise again. In the heart of Vermont lies a place where time itself disappears. Thick forests, eerie silence, and a fear that rides on the wind. Locals call this haunted land the Bennington Triangle, but the question is, are you ready to hear a story that was never truly understood? If you missed our 32-episode Season 1, Dark History, watch the full playlist on our channel. The wind that moves through the forests of southern Vermont has a strange sound to it. It's not just the rustle of leaves or the creak of old trees, it's something deeper, older. Locals say if you listen closely, you can almost hear the voices of those who never came back. This is the story of a place that defies logic, a stretch of wilderness that has swallowed people whole, leaving behind no trace, no clue, no goodbye. A place known today as the Bennington Triangle. The heart of this mystery lies in the Green Mountain National Forest, a vast expanse of wilderness stretching across Bennington County, Vermont. Thick pine forests, icy streams, and misty peaks define the landscape. To the casual traveler, it's breathtaking, but for locals, these woods carry an unshakable unease. For centuries, the land had been considered cursed. Long before settlers arrived, Native American tribes avoided the area around Glastonbury Mountain, calling it the place where the four winds meet. They believed the land was somehow wrong, that the spirits of the forest twisted the directions of the wind and the minds of men. Even the animals, they said, avoided its higher slopes. By the late 1800s, a small logging town named Glastonbury was founded near the base of the mountain. For a time, it thrived, sawmills hummed, loggers worked long hours, and trains carried timber to nearby cities. But the mountain didn't forgive the intrusion. By the early 1900s, after a series of accidents, economic failure, and a massive flood that wiped out the rail line, the town was abandoned. The forest reclaimed everything. All that remained were foundations, rotting wood, and a heavy silence. And then, people started to vanish. It began in 1945. A man named Middie Rivers, 74 years old, was leading a group of hunters through the wilderness near Hell Hollow, a steep and tangled ravine northwest of Glastonbury. Rivers knew the land better than anyone. He'd hunted and fished there his entire life. That day, he walked a few paces ahead of his group, and was never seen again. When the hunters reached the end of the trail, Middie was gone. No footprints, no torn clothing, no signs of struggle, nothing. Dozens of search parties combed the woods for weeks. Helicopters flew overhead. Locals scoured the riverbeds and gorges, but the forest kept its secret. It was as if the mountain had simply swallowed him. 1 year later, almost to the day, another disappearance struck. December 1st, 1946. A cold wind swept across Bennington College as Paula Welden, a bright, 18-year-old student, decided to take a hike along the Long Trail, a famous path that wound deep into the Green Mountains. She wore a red jacket, jeans, and light hiking shoes. A couple walking the same trail later recalled seeing her turn a bend near Fayetteville Road. She waved politely and disappeared into the trees. When Paula didn't return to campus that evening, friends alerted the authorities. A massive search began. Hundreds of people, bloodhounds, helicopters, even the FBI joined in. The entire region was on edge, but despite every effort, not a single clue was found. Her red jacket, her footprints, her body gone. The long trail had taken her. Newspapers across the country picked up the story. Headlines read, "College girl vanishes in Vermont woods." Rumors spread like wildfire, kidnappings, accidents, even alien abduction theories. But among the locals, one whisper carried through the winter air. The mountain took another one. 5 years later, it happened again. December 12, 1949. James Tedford, a veteran and resident of the Bennington Soldiers' Home, boarded a bus from St. Albans, Vermont, heading back to Bennington. Witnesses remembered seeing him on the bus as it left the last stop before town. He sat quietly, reading a small booklet, luggage beside him. But when the bus pulled into Bennington, Tedford was gone. His belongings were still on the seat. His open timetable rested in his lap. The driver swore he never saw him leave. Somehow, somewhere between stops, Tedford vanished into thin air. By now, people were beginning to talk about a curse, an invisible line drawn through the region, where logic stopped working. They called it the Bennington Triangle, a term that would later be popularized by local author Joseph S. And within that triangle, time and reason seemed to collapse. Then came October 12, 1950. A child, this time Paul Jepson, just 8 years old. He was sitting in the cab of his mother's truck while she fed pigs on the family farm near Glastonbury. When she returned just minutes later, he was gone. The mother's screams echoed across the fields as neighbors rushed to help. Paul had been wearing a bright red jacket, the same color Paula Welden wore when she vanished 4 years earlier. Bloodhounds caught his scent at first, following it up a nearby hill, straight toward the same section of the long trail where Paula was last seen. Then the scent stopped cold, not faded, not scattered, stopped, as if the boy had been lifted out of existence. The search lasted days. No trace of Paul was ever found, and then, just 16 days later, it happened again. October 28, 1950. Frieda Langer, a 53-year-old experienced hiker, set out with her cousin on a trail near Somerset Reservoir. A few minutes in, she slipped, crossing a small stream, and said she'd run back to camp to change into dry clothes. The camp was less than half a mile away. She never arrived. The weather turned harsh that night. Snow, wind, and freezing rain buried the trails. 4 weeks. Hundreds searched, soldiers, police, volunteers, but nothing turned up. Then, on May 12, 1951, 6 months later, Frieda's body was found. It was discovered in an open area near Somerset Reservoir, a spot that had been searched countless times before. But by then her body was too decomposed to reveal a cause of death. How she got there, and why she wasn't found earlier, remains one of the most disturbing aspects of the entire mystery. 5 people, gone, all within a narrow radius, between 1945 and 1950. No explanations, no evidence, just silence. But what was really happening behind the curtain? Some believe the disappearances were linked, that a serial predator may have used the remote wilderness as cover, but there were no patterns of assault, no ransom notes, no clues of human involvement at all. Others looked deeper into the land itself. Glastonbury Mountain has long been a place of magnetic oddities. Compass needles spin wildly. Animals are said to avoid the higher ridges, and electronic equipment even in modern times often fails. Could something in the geology, perhaps iron deposits or magnetic anomalies, have caused disorientation? That might explain a hiker's confusion, but not a man vanishing from a bus in broad daylight. Then there are those who speak of older forces, the whispers of the land. According to Abenaki legends, the mountain was home to a stone serpent, a creature that would lure people off the trails and consume them whole. To outsiders, it sounds like myth, but to those who have felt the stillness of Glastonbury's woods, it feels strangely possible. Even today, hikers describe a feeling that's hard to explain, a sense of being watched, followed. The forest seems to breathe with them, and sometimes, they say, it stops, completely still, as if waiting for something. Through the decades, other stories began to emerge, faint echoes of the same curse. Campers vanishing overnight, lights flickering through the trees, voices in the mist that call your name in the dark. Police reports describe footprints that start in the snow and end suddenly, in the middle of nowhere. No drag marks, no continuation, just gone. Local writer Joseph Citro coined the term Bennington Triangle in the 1990s, drawing parallels to the Bermuda Triangle, a place where the laws of nature seemed to fracture. And as more stories surfaced, the triangle's legend deepened. But not all explanations are supernatural. Skeptics point to the sheer vastness of the Green Mountains, over 400,000 acres of thick, unforgiving wilderness. A single wrong turn can spell disaster, especially in freezing temperatures. Some suggest animal attacks, accidental falls into hidden ravines, or hypothermia. Nature can be crueler than any ghost story. And yet, that doesn't explain the patterns, the timing, the eerily similar circumstances, the red jackets, the vanished footprints, the places that were searched again and again only for bodies to appear months later. Coincidence, or something darker? Investigators tried to piece together the puzzle. Maps of the disappearances revealed a disturbing symmetry, a rough triangle centered around Glastonbury Mountain. Each incident seemed to trace one of its edges. Even modern GPS readings have shown bizarre inconsistencies around those same regions. Devices malfunction. Batteries drain faster than normal. Some paranormal researchers claim the mountain acts like an energy vortex, a gateway, they say, where time and reality thin. Others, more grounded, say it's psychological, that the stories themselves feed a kind of collective hysteria. But those who've spent time in those woods tell another story. They talk about hearing footsteps, pacing just behind them, only to find no one there. They talk about sudden fogs that roll in from nowhere, thick enough to erase the trail within seconds. And sometimes, they talk about voices faint, almost human, whispering through the wind. In one chilling account from the 1970s, a pair of hikers camping near Bickford Hollow woke to find their tent unzipped from the outside. Nothing was stolen, but muddy footprints circled the campsite, small, bare footprints that ended abruptly at the tree line. The hikers left before sunrise and never returned. Local rangers have heard hundreds of such stories, and though most can be explained by paranoia or weather, there's an unspoken understanding among them. Glastonbury is different. You don't stay there after dark. Today, the area remains almost entirely uninhabited. The old logging trails are overgrown, the railway long gone. Nature has reclaimed everything. Even the ruins of Glastonbury town are barely visible, swallowed by moss and time. But every now and then, a traveler wanders off the main path. Hikers vanish for hours, sometimes days, before stumbling back, confused, unable to recall where they've been. Their watches stop, their compasses spin, and their eyes always look different. Locals still whisper about the red curse, that those who wear red near Glastonbury vanish, just like Paula and Paul. No one can explain why, but few are brave enough to test it. Every autumn, when the leaves turn crimson and the fog thickens, the stories come alive again, told around campfires and taverns, each one adding another layer to the myth. One old ranger once said, "It's not the forest that's dangerous, it's the silence. Once you hear it, it doesn't let you go." The Bennington Triangle remains one of America's most enduring unsolved mysteries, a crossroads of folklore, fear, and the unknown. 5 official disappearances, countless unofficial ones, and a lingering sense that something, somewhere, is still waiting. The mountain stands silent now, wrapped in mist. But for those who know its story, the silence isn't peace, it's a warning. And when the wind blows through those ancient trees, carrying faint echoes of the names Paula, Middie, James, Paul, Frida, you can almost believe they're still there, just beyond the trees, watching. Even today, the Bennington Triangle remains one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. No bodies were found, no answers ever surfaced, only stories, mist. And that one haunting question, what really happened in these woods? Would you dare to step into this forest? Tell us in the comments, do you have the courage?